Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Kaylina and this is the Fox's Hideaway, and today we are going to be talking about Cancer, part 1 of Cancer. So this will be, a lot of the information comes from the Body Astrology book, which I finally finished. It only took me, 3 years to read it. That's a bit of an exaggeration. But it did probably take me like 2 months to read this book, and I don't know why, but Gemini, the month of Gemini has really just, I don't know how you Geminis do it. Like, I have been so incredibly scattered this month for whatever reason. Like, I have had, like, and it's not even necessarily a Gemini thing, but like, I've had zero motivation to do pretty much anything, and I don't know where this is coming from, because I've just gotten off of a hype of really feeling like motivated and stuff, and now it's just like slumped off, and I don't know what is going on right now. But oh my gosh, it is trying to fix the ring light here so that I don't maybe have so much light on my face there. Is that better? I'm not really sure what we're doing here. Sure. But anyway, yeah, I will be really glad to get out of Gemini, because I am taking on the chaos side of it, and there's been things that I know I need to do, things that I've actually had to like force myself to do, just because my mindset has literally been come home and sit on the bed and scroll through social media and or watch Has-Been Hotel for the 100th time in a row, because my sister got me on board with that little animation, and now that's my life now. I am just watching that on repeat and singing the songs everywhere I go. On my way to work, the minute I get up in the morning, at night, on my way back from work, like, we're just, that's on repeats, on replay, over and over and over and over and over again. And I don't know what kind of magic spell they've put on that show, but I'm obsessed. And yeah, so much so that I do want to do Haunt again this year, at Halloween Haunt at Worlds of Fun. And I would love to base my character off of Alistair in some ways, because he's my favorite character on that show. And so yeah, anyway, I've not been exactly the most productive with my life as of late, and so we are finally forcing ourselves to make this video, and trying to write and edit some more, because by God, we are gonna get my book out at least by the end of the year. Or at least when I get it finished editing. Oh my God, words. Whew, okay. Also, I don't know what is going on right now, because emotionally I've been fine. Like, yeah, I may not be the most motivated right now, but emotionally speaking, I've been good. But I am still having problems with whatever it is that is in this house, to the point it's still giving me nightmares, and it's gotten to the point where it's actually giving me hallucinations, like right before I wake up. Its new favorite thing to do is to make it look like there are spiders on my pillow, and so I jolt up in the middle of the night thinking there are spiders on my pillow, when really there isn't anything there. And that's happened twice. And yeah, just constant bad dreams that I wake myself up from. And so I don't know what's going on with that, because usually, entities or attachments, they get you when you're really low, and I have not been feeling that way for a long time now. I mean, not a long time, but a decent amount of time that this shouldn't be happening. And it was funny, I just got back from the lake, and my parents have this sign above their door, and I was just looking, admiring the sign, and then literally a couple minutes after, the sign falls to the floor. And the sign talks about how, like, love is everything or something, and so I was just like, what the bloody hell is going on? Like, what is this thing that is just, it's like, and I don't like the whole fear-mongering thing with spirits, because it can't hurt me. It can't, I mean, it's scaring me while I'm sleeping, but I think that's the only way it can get some kind of reaction out of me, because in my day-to-day life, I've been in a really good place. So, and it's obviously low vibrating, so it can't feed off of like these really positive vibes I've been having as of late. So the only way it can get to me is in my dreams, and it just startles me. Not exactly scares me. I mean, the first time it happened, it definitely scared me, but now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, well, I hope you enjoy your 5 seconds of, you know, slight uncomfortableness, because that's all you're getting from me. So I'm hoping eventually it's just going to go away, because I've made it very crystal clear that it's not allowed to hurt me, and it's not allowed to hurt my pets or anybody in my family, which is why the sign fell when nobody else was around it, because spirits can make it seem like they can maybe physically hurt you, but they can only hurt you if you physically allow them to. And so I don't give them that permission. Not at all. Not in the least bit. And so I'm hoping whatever it is will just eventually go the fuck away, because there's nothing for it here. Nothing at all. I mean, I understand, like, a few months ago, like at the beginning of the year, and the 6 years before that, somewhere in there, that's where I picked up this attachment. Or it's just something that is attached to this house, one of the two. I mean, I understand how I could have gotten an attachment, like, within the last 6 years. I was not my happiest self. And so, but now it's like, it's like desperate. It's desperate to get energy from me, which it's not going to get anymore. So might as well fuck off. And then also my sister is now having issues, or was having issues at her old apartment. Fortunately, her and her husband just moved, but whatever was there was literally scaring the shit out of their cat. Like, their cat was literally like scared like to death, and was panting and like really upset about whatever entity was in their space. So I went over there and did a whole cleansing and everything. I guess it was better for a little bit, but then it's like it came back. So I don't know if it's just multiple spirits attached to the whole building, and so it just momentarily left while I was cleansing and then came back. Like, I don't like to scare people about the spirit realm and stuff, because most of the time it's not a big deal. But there are some tricky spirits out there that just enjoy causing mischief and kind of enjoy causing, not like a lot of harm, but just enough to make you uncomfortable. And I think that's what the spirit was doing. And so it's just like, so between me dealing with my spirit stuff and her dealing with whatever was at her old apartment, I'm just like, I'm getting a little annoyed with some of these spirits right now. And I'm just like, can you not just, if you have nothing good to offer, go away, you know? Like, I don't need you in my life right now. And you're really just a nuisance. That's the word, nuisance, because you don't have enough power to do anything else, because I'm not giving it to you. But you're still just annoying. And my spirit here literally likes to hang out either in the bathroom or in the hallway. And then sometimes I feel like it's in my room at night. And like, I can tell when I'm not alone, if that makes any sense. But I'm just like, you're a handful. You're a pain in the ass. Like, that's it. And so, anyway, it's really nice, though, having a background in witchcraft and reading some of the books that I've read about spiritual stuff, because I'm by no means like an expert in it, but I know enough to where I feel comfortable knowing that we are the ones that give these things power. And so, and a lot of people would be like, don't even talk about it, which, yes, okay, generally speaking, yeah, you don't really want to just continue talking about something, because that in some cases is giving them energy, is giving them power. But I mean, if you assert your intentions then there's not much more they can do. They can come close, they can make you think they're going to be able to hurt you, but they can't. And I learned a lot from, what's it called? Ooh, I'll have to reference it somewhere over here, but the one book that I read just really put it into perspective. And when that sign fell at the lake, I was a little bit nervous at first, just because I was like, oh my gosh, like I was literally looking at the sign, I was literally reading it and thinking about it, and then next thing I know, it's falling to the ground. I'm like, that just seems like a very odd coincidence. But then when I was out on the lake paddleboarding, the realization came to me of, it can't hurt you. You're not allowing it to. Like, that's all there is to it. So you don't need to like worry about it. And so I was like, yeah, you're right. And I felt like when I was out on the water and it was calm and quiet, like that's when my higher self or my other guardians of actual good divine nature came through and was like, you don't need to worry about this. So I'm not. And yes, eventually probably I would like to do some sort of cord cutting, full-blown ritual just to officially get rid of whatever this is. But this thing is fucking stubborn because I have cleansed this house so many freaking times and it just keeps coming back. So I think it's smart. It knows just to leave and then come back after all the stuff has been, lessened. But I don't know. I hope my sister stops having problems, because her husband for a little while there was having really bad dreams and had a like a Hat Man type situation at one point. And so I'm hoping it's not that because obviously that's a little trickier to get rid of. But yeah, and it's not to scare people because everybody goes through ups and downs in their lives. But getting attachments, I mean, it can happen. It doesn't need to be this huge, big, scary thing. It's just know your own power and know that you can get rid of it. Or you can at least take its power from it and not give it enough to really, truly, really, really affect you in any major way. But anyway, yeah, so between those two things, I'm just like, this Gemini energy I have not been on top of things, which for my Virgo mind drives me crazy because I will be sitting there scrolling, knowing that there's 12 other things I should be doing, and I still choose to sit there and not do them. In fact, I did actually force myself to kind of re-go through the attic upstairs, make sure there was nothing else I could donate. I reorganized some things, got rid of some things. And I feel like that's just my unhinged Virgo happening because we like organization. So it made me think that I had some kind of control over the energy going on right now. But yeah, I've been feeling a little just, unhinged isn't the right word, but definitely not, my brain is like scrambled eggs right now. And I'm really hoping with Cancer, even though I have my moon in Cancer, and we all know how that can go with the moon and the emotions ruling over Cancer. I'm kind of wondering what shit show I'm about to enter into in this next coming month, but we have high hopes that things are going to maybe go smoother and I can maybe get back on track a little bit more. But we'll see. How's everyone else doing? Is everyone else's got their ducks in a row, or do we have squirrels at a rave? Because that's where I'm at right now. But let's talk about Cancer. Cancer part 1. So Cancers are water bodies. And so we're going to go over the water part first, just like I did with Taurus, as well as what I did with Gemini, which was our earth and our air signs. Now we have our water sign. And then our next one, we will have our fire sign, I believe. Okay, so what comes after Gemini? Or Cancer? Sorry, what comes after Cancer? I don't know. I still get confused on the order sometimes. I do good to a point, and then I always forget one here or there. But I'll remember. It'll hit me in the middle of this video. But anyway, water bodies are going to be like cold and they're going to be wet. So that's kind of like their elements, so to speak. Obviously, water signs are known to be very like sensitive and emotional and empathetic in nature. A lot of the times it's very understated, but water has a lot of power to it. It can take life away and it can sustain life. So it's actually got a lot of underrated power that's not always given credit for. So the cold side of it is going to slow things down, it's going to constrict things, and it moves inward or down. This shows up in metabolism and your circulation, as well as any emotional terrain of a particular water body. So with nutrition and fitness, water bodies will carry a warming element, and that's going to kind of help counter that coldness. So your wet side of it is going to mix and merge and combine with things, giving it a relational and receptive element. So it's a transporter of unspoken messages, and they guard emotions, hormones, as well as your lymph. When cold and wet group together, it can make things a little bit heavy in nature. And an overabundance of dampness can cause problems within your physical, emotional, and energetic bodies. We aim to have water in tune and purified so it can work really well with its natural gifts of tenderness and compassion, as well as intuition and wisdom. So, your water and nutrition. Things that are going to decrease your water are going to be things such as fermented vegetables, fresh lemon and lime juice, high-fat nuts, high-quality animal proteins, low-carbohydrate vegetables like asparagus, broccoli, and cauliflower, dark leafy greens, zucchini, low glycemic sour fruits like berries, cherries, and citrus, warming spices like cinnamon, cumin, curry blends, garlic, ginger, and turmeric, as well as just well-cooked foods in general. Things that are going to increase your water are going to be things such as broth and soups, eggs, fermented dairy, grains, natural sugars, root vegetables and hard squashes, sea salt, seaweed, water-rich fruits like apples, berries, melons, oranges, peaches, and tomatoes, and water-rich vegetables such as bell peppers, cabbage, celery, cucumbers, lettuce, mushrooms, and zucchini. So foods that are going to disturb your water are anything that is additive, preservative, dyes, synthetic ingredients, excess amounts of high glycemic foods, excess alcohol, excessively salty, spicy, greasy, or deep fried foods, and excess amounts of raw food. And I do find this within my own self that while reading through this book, yes, I related a lot of things with Virgo because that is my sun sign, but I did relate a lot of things with my moon sign. And I actually feel like in this certain circumstance for me, my moon stuff actually kind of trumps my sun sign when it comes to like issues that I face as far as like foods and even like the different exercises that she mentions. I fit more into the category of Cancer, which I found interesting. And so I'll be really interested to go back and reread Scorpio as well, because I do think there's things that mixed really well with all three of my signs, that those were kind of prominent in, like I related to them more than the other signs, which would make sense. So it just goes to show that she's done good research and that she actually does understand each zodiac body type and what kind of makes them tick, which is kind of really interesting. And I really did learn a lot from this book as far as things that I need to watch out for and things that I could implement moving forward. And so I do really recommend this book. And I'm not going to make any more videos on it directly unless I'm including it within my zodiac videos. But there is a whole section in the back that talked about like if a planet is going through a certain transit and if there's excess energy of it or not enough energy of it and how you can kind of counteract that And that was a really nice section as well, because that's given me some things to think about for the future and to really kind of pay attention to where aspects are and what planets are doing what with what. And so I definitely love astrology. I'm by no means an expert in it, but I definitely love making videos involving astrology because I think it is just so helpful. Like, it really can kind of give you a perspective of what's going on energetically. And the more and more I've been paying attention to these things, the more and more I have been able to find things that match up with what's actually going on. So it's fascinating to me. Okay. So, other things regarding Cancer. So Cancer is going to be that motherly sign. I mean, it's literally the mother of the zodiac signs. Sometimes it can be seen as kind of weak and weepy, which, I mean, we are very sentimental and emotional in nature. We are we're very in tune with feelings in general. But that doesn't mean that we're defenseless. And without Cancer, we would be defenseless. So it soothes and it distributes like substance throughout the body. Externally, Cancer fends off anything that threatens our safety. And that's one thing that is maybe a little understated within Cancer. Like, Cancer is not afraid to pick a fight. Like, we will defend if necessary. Like, Cancers are extremely loyal in nature, and we don't stand for injustice, and we will stand up for the people that we care for, and we will pick a fight if need be. It maybe isn't what we want to do, but we certainly will do it if necessary, because we are driven by our emotions. So Cancer rules over the meninges of the brain and spinal cord, gums, mucous membranes, sinuses, low esophagus, chest, anterior shoulders, and armpits, breast, stomach, gallbladder, sternum, ribs, intercostal muscles, pericardium and pleura, lower lobes of the lungs, diaphragm, elbows, flesh of the belly, uterus, and bladder. And I will tell you that I know Cancer really comes into play for me a lot, especially during my menstrual cycle, because that kind of rules, like, the moon is very associated with the menstrual cycle. And I can tell you, especially as of late, I definitely get some of this stuff during that, such as, like, I don't know if anyone else has this problem, but my one armpit will, like, swell right before my period, like, a couple days before. So notice that happening as of late, which is super annoying, and I don't know how to get that to stop. But yeah, and then I do just naturally have more stomach issues, which I found in Cancer as well as in Virgo. Virgo has major digestive stuff that happens with them, but I also have found that Cancer does too, because Cancer and emotions and the stomach are actually very much connected together. And when you have emotional upheaval, it affects your stomach. And there has been people that have gotten so upset that they've practically tied their stomach in knots because they're so emotionally worked up that their whole system, like, starts shutting down. And that's why I just emphasize stress control so much. Like, as a massage therapist, especially, like, you see this all the time. People just come wired and they're so stressed, and I'm like, your body cannot function like that. It is going to give you problems, because that your body is in fight and flight mode, and all it can do is fight for survival, which means other things get kicked to the wayside. And so stress, especially for you Cancerians, like, stress is going to be a big player, because it just affects your whole emotional, like, it's just, sorry, I'm going on a rampage, and my thoughts are not as precise as I would like them to be right now, so please stick with me. This is why I have notes in front of me, but I'm just going off on a tangent anyway. Okay, so gesture is all about comfort and feeling of safety and trust within the body. That is super important. If you don't feel comfortable and safe, your Cancer body is just going to not do its part because it's too busy worried about the stress versus actually taking care of what it needs to take care of. So also eating in all areas are going to be really important. So not just what you're eating, but how, where, and who you're eating with is also going to be very pivotal. So they could have the absolute perfect diet, but if environmental stressors come into play, it's not going to matter. So it's also really important for you to digest your emotions before you digest your food. So you need to come to terms with how you're feeling. Accept how you're feeling. Find healthy ways of coping with however you're feeling, especially if it's stress related, and then move forward, because otherwise things are just not going to work, especially when it comes to digestion, because it all plays a part. So Cancers are one of the most food sensitive signs of the whole zodiac. So it's really important for Cancers to have what's called safe foods that they know are not going to make their stomachs upset or make them sick. This sign may need to kind of watch out for like the dairy and eggs and sugar. Maybe stick with high quality, full fat, and traditional sour dairy, because I personally have noticed within changing up how I eat that the crappy preservative-filled cheeses affect me a lot worse than high-quality dairy. Now it sucks because the low, crappy preservative cheese is like maybe $2 at Walmart. And the high-quality good cheeses are like 10 for like a small square. Is it worth it? Yes, because it gives me less stomach problems and I'm actually gaining some more control over my body. But yes, does it hurt the wallet a little bit? Yes, it does. But these are sometimes things we have to prioritize. And if dairy just straight up doesn't agree with you, which sometimes that can be the case depending on what's going on with your body, try things that also create kind of that creamy texture, such as like coconut cream or blended cauliflower and avocado. I personally have to be careful with cauliflower sometimes because those cruciferous, I believe, vegetables, I think that's the term, like broccoli and cauliflower, they sometimes don't agree with me. They're like too hard for me to digest personally, but everybody is different, so everybody is going to have a different reaction to that kind of stuff. So digestion is very important to the sign. So she suggests maybe not drinking anything directly before or during while you're like eating, because it is said that if you're drinking too much before or during a meal, it's preventing your digestive juices from working to their full potential. So try to maybe refrain from that. But if that's not possible, stay away from cold drinks, because cold kind of like shocks your system and it takes more energy away from the digestion to deal with the coldness. So it can also cause effects such as like fatigue and brain fog and some other symptoms as well. So try to lukewarm or hotter drinks are better. But I mean, too hot is also not good. So like no extremes. Okay, so Cancer does better with like mashes and puddings and soup and broths and purees and like steamed foods. And I've also found that Virgo tends to be the same way. So it's funny just looking at this from my perspective, like there are definitely certain things I should and should not be eating depending on the Cancer and Virgo signs. And it's just, they actually work very well together, surprisingly. So you can make proteins a little bit easier to digest, because that's also a thing I have a problem with, is like too much protein. I get full and bloated and just kind of uncomfortable. So if you also have that same problem where after eating a bunch of protein, you just don't feel like your stomach's doing its job very well, you can help a little bit by brining, marinating, and slow cooking like your meats and stuff. And to help with like grains, you can soak them before cooking them. And you can do that with beans also. So bitter and drying foods can have a drying and astringent effect. Next, we're going to move on to Cancer movement. So Cancers are very intuitive in nature naturally, so it's going to involve a lot of just intuitive movement, kind of trusting yourself to know whatever you need in the moment is what you need to do. So it's ruled by the moon, so you may feel like you're kind of in a constant flux, and the sign is highly attuned with changes in general, especially when it comes to moon phase and your moon sign, ocean tides, humidity, and body fluctuations, as well as fluid, balance, and mood to the menstrual cycle. Soft movement is going to be key. Anything involving like a yin yoga or a yoga nidra, mobility, active recovery, and anything with deep breathing with long holds. Also, another thing to think about is your environment. Once again, make things very comfortable. So blankets and cushions, foam rollers, bolsters, and low lighting. These are all things that are just going to make you more comfortable, because if you are uncomfortable for any reason, that is going to be just a natural barrier that's going to prevent you from performing to your highest level. So like I mentioned before, don't underestimate a Cancer. We will defend if necessary, and we do not mind picking a fight. And we actually have surprising fighting skills. So actually, things in the combat realm, such as boxing and wrestling and like self-defense and karate, mixed martial arts, fencing, all these things are actually pretty well compatible with a Cancer. And I can also attest to that, because most of the time I feel like I'm pretty even keeled, but there are times where I just want to punch something. And so the sword fighting class I have been taking is a really great outlet for that, because I get to go and I get to swing my sword around, and it's great fun, and I really, really enjoy it. And funny enough, we've done grappling, which is pretty much wrestling, and I'm not gonna lie, it's strangely therapeutic. So do some combat if you're a Cancer. Like you've gotta get that emotion out somewhere, and doing a combat sport is actually a really great way to let out that energy. At least I find that to be very true. And it makes you feel like you're kick-ass, and who doesn't want to feel like that? So with Cancer, you're going to want to blend that harder exercise mixed with the softer modalities together. And that really works well. So as far as running goes, there's a term called fartlek, which it means speed play. This is where you interrupt like moderate jogging or walking with like some more intense running. And I naturally did this before even reading this. That's kind of my running style, because I would have done much better in like short distance fast running versus like a long distance of just constant jogging and stuff like that. So this actually works really well for me personally. So yeah, if you're not a huge runner but you want to get maybe your heart rate up a little bit, just intermediately put in a little bit of faster running mixed in with your walk or just slow jogging. So other Cancer sports are going to be all home workout systems: belly dancing, boating, body surfing, fishing, ground-based workouts such as like animal flows, which I would love to see what is animal flow. Like I've never looked into that before. Kickboxing, martial arts, self-defense classes, skimboarding, snorkeling, tubing, and water aerobics. And so I had actually put in the book a note saying that, yeah, I'm kind of more Cancer driven when it comes to some of these activities, because first of all, I love anything water related. I finally learned to do, my parents have a surf boat at the lake. And so we have the surfboard. And so the surf boat is really cool because you can put it in a certain mode where it creates like a wave and you can actually surf. And all last year I could not figure out how to do the damn thing. Like it was a failure. I was literally being waterboarded behind the boat, and it was not enjoyable. But finally this year, with the help of my sister, she's really good at like analytical stuff, and she's really good at watching YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video to figure out how to do these things. And I'm actually very grateful that she is like so obsessed. When she gets on to something, she's like obsessed with it until she like figures it out, which was great for me because she figures out all of these things first and then she tells me how to do them. And I mean, I don't mean to brag, but I'm pretty good at listening to instructions most of the time. I'm fairly teachable. I try to keep an open mind, and if somebody actually knows what they're doing, I am happy to listen to them and learn from them. I love learning things from people. And so I just let her figure it out, and then she taught me. And then first time this year, got right up and was able to experience it, and it was really, really cool. I did feel a little bit of accomplishment. And so yeah, water stuff, I love water stuff. I wish I actually lived closer to a lake and not 3 hours away, because I love being on water. So Cancer stuff, obviously being a water sign and having Scorpio as my rising, which is also a water sign, water is my jam. So it's probably the element I connect the most with besides earth. I love fire magic, but it's not like my go-to. I have tons more water and earth in me than anything else. Sorry, I'm giving you a lot of my astrology stuff that you probably don't care about knowing, but it's just to like show the relation that this stuff actually does correlate. At least with me, it correlates with my signs. So if you do pick up this book, you can feel confident that the information is going to actually be helpful. So next we're going to go into Cancer conditions. So Cancers run into problems when there is resistance or rejection of like fluctuation and a demand on the heart, body, or mind other than in the present moment. So the most common root amongst all issues is going to be tied to that emotional emotion. It's going to be tied to emotion. So other things you may experience could be asthma, breast swelling, tenderness and cysts, chronic fatigue with digestive, emotional, or trauma-related roots, digestive discomfort, poor appetite, nausea, vomiting, stomach ache, trouble swallowing, slow gastric emptying, too little, too much stomach acid, gas, bloating, diarrhea, prone to food poisoning, eating disorders, food fear and neurosis, food sensitivities, allergies and intolerances, fungal overgrowth, menstrual irregularities and hormone imbalances, sinus and respiratory infections, water retention and swelling, as well as edema. And so I can attest to this. Like, I didn't realize for so long how much emotion really does affect me in my personal life too, because I'm very tied in with emotion. Because the minute I become too overly like emotionally stimulated in like stress, that is when my body shuts down. And it literally shuts down. Like, it tells me enough is enough, and I'm out for like a day. I've already shared the condition that I had before, so I'm not going into that. But that's literally how my body tells me it's had enough. Like, I'm too emotionally stimulated and that I need to calm back down. I'm triggered by stress and I'm triggered by emotion. And I've even noticed more and more and more so, I've gotten better at realizing what energy is not mine and what energy is. Because there are times where I'll be perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden, like, either my sister will start getting worked up about something, or I can feel like my mom's stress, and it'll combine together, and all of a sudden I'll just start feeling really overwhelmed when I know I was fine like 5 seconds ago. So watch for that. Like, all signs, watch for that. Because if you're just naturally empathic, you are going to be feeling people's emotions, and you're going to be like, why do I feel like this? Because I'm fine. Like, there's nothing that should be triggering this response, but yet you're feeling it anyway. And yes, sometimes anxiety just works like that. It'll come out of the blue and you'll be like, why am I so upset about nothing? And so yes, it's not always it's maybe not always someone else's emotions, but if you are naturally in tune with the energy around you, just stop and breathe for a moment and be like, is this actually me? Or is this something I'm picking up from around me? And it's not to like scare you or anything, but I feel like it's so important to be educated on like yourself and how you perceive energies and emotions. And I mean, even in like places that are high in like spiritual activity, that's going to potentially affect you. And so just becoming aware of it makes everything a lot less scary, because when those symptoms start coming on, you can be like, wait, no, this isn't me. I just need to breathe for a minute and reevaluate kind of where I'm at. And then you can kind of push that crap out of your aura, and I can guarantee you'll feel a lot better, or at least you'll be more aware. Sorry, I have a lot to say on this because like I've learned so much about my own self through all of this, because I've caught on to a fact a lot of stuff is not my own. And so when you realize that, it's so freeing, because you're like, I'm not a psychopath. I'm not emotionally wrecked all the time. And so, yes, some things are mine, obviously, and you have to face that and you have to handle it appropriately. But sometimes it's not. And so just learning the difference, I find is immensely helpful. So Moon is a planet of body nourishment, so you will be very aware to your nourishment instincts. And having Cancer as one of my top 3, you do. My body gets set off by the smallest of things. I don't know if other Cancer people can relate, but it doesn't take much to throw my body off, which is super irritating. And it really means that you have to focus on balance within your life, because otherwise you're kind of a mess, or at least you feel like you are a lot of the time. So sometimes a mood is just a mood, and you don't have to think every single one that you have. Just because you have an emotion doesn't mean it necessarily means something more. Sometimes you could just have a fleeting emotion and don't overthink everything. So common to use both food and movement as emotional processing tools. Cancer people do that often. And lastly, we're going to go over the other planets within Cancer, and then we'll end out this video because it's already pretty long. So Mercury. So with Mercury in Cancer, you have a deep connection between your stomach and stress. Bloating and nausea or appetite and bowel changes with nerves are all common. You could have food sensitivities that show up as a slowed nervous system like reaction that includes like foggy cognition. And I do get that too. Like bad. Like I'll eat something and I'll know a few hours later if it was something that didn't agree with me, because I will be brain foggy as fuck, and it's so annoying. But yeah, it happens, and I feel like it's also tied in with my sugar. But that's me personally. All exercise, but especially low meditative modalities, help Mercury process and gain clarity. So your Venus in Cancer, food and digestive issues show up as sadness, a defensiveness, or reclusiveness. There is a connection between the menstrual cycle and digestive health, large water fluctuations in the middle of the body, which who doesn't love that, and there may be adequate stomach organ tone, acid or digestive enzymes, making it more prone to dysbiosis and GI infection. So I have that problem as well. My pancreas does not make enough enzymes to work, so I have to take daily digestive enzymes, which that's another thing. If you are having like massive amounts of food issues and it just doesn't seem like it matters what you eat, your stomach is automatically upset, question that. Especially if you're super bloated and you have like undigested food in your stool, check that out. And I don't care how freaking old you are, whether you're young or old, if you've checked everything else out, be adamant that they check your pancreatic enzymes, because that's what happened to me. And my doctor refused to check it, and I went to a naturopathic doctor, and they're the ones who actually found out that I have pancreatic insufficiency, which is it's manageable as long as you catch it. You know, you catch it, and then you're on enzymes for the rest of your freaking life, which is wonderful. But look into that, and don't let them tell you, if you are younger, don't let them tell you, oh, it can't be your pancreas, you're not old enough, because that is a bunch of BS. Don't fall for it. Now, I'm not assuming, don't just assume it's your pancreas, because there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of other things it could be related to your stomach. You know, there's a lot of stomach problems that occur within a lot of people. But if you have looked into everything else, look at your pancreas, because it could be that. I'm not saying it is. I can't diagnose anything. I'm not a doctor of any kind. Massage therapists do not diagnose anything. I'm just telling you my personal story and telling others to be extremely thorough and to fight for yourself, because doctors don't know everything. Anyway, Mars and Cancer. So food issues are fast and intense, accompanied by acute pain, irritability, and possible vomiting. Problems with stomach acid, deficient stomach acid, and spicy foods are definitely potentially going to give you issues. In this particular placement, combat sports is very therapeutic. So your Jupiter in Cancer, this is where you're going to find a lot of that water retention potentially, especially around like your menstrual cycle if you have a uterus. Swelling, edema, distension, all those uncomfortable feelings. Liver may feel a bit sluggish here at times. So your leaner proteins, low carb vegetables, and low glycemic fruit may help this Jupiter when feeling unbalanced. Don't mind my neighbor yelling at his freaking dog. He does that all the time. Saturn in Cancer. This is a little repressed and highly sensitive. So it gets full quickly. Appetite can be poor, especially when emotional upheaval is involved. So your digestive secretions are inadequate. Protein digestion tends to be difficult, resulting in poor nutrient assimilation and undigested food in your stool. Too much restriction in the center of the body, creating poor mobility, thoracic spine, weak core, and difficulty breathing during exercising. And all these things are potential symptoms. It doesn't mean that you're going to get all these just because you have, this planet in Cancer. It doesn't mean you're going to. It just means these are potential things to look out for. Otherwise, if you're hearing all this, you could definitely get scared and overthink everything all the time, because you're like, oh, well, my planet is in this sign and I'm gonna, be sick with all this stuff. No. It just means potentially these are things that have been found to correlate with this. Doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. So please don't watch this video and panic. So Uranus in Cancer can experience any digestive reversal. So this means pleasant things like vomiting and belching and hiccups and nausea and acute pain and stomach acid irregularities. Severe uterine cramping and menstrual irregularities. Can sometimes straight up reject nourishment as well, which isn't great. And lastly, we've got Neptune in Cancer. So this is a lack of sufficient gastric secretions, excess amounts of dampness in the body that can cause fatigue and sensitivity. Mold toxicity is going to be one to look out for in this particular placement, and as well as fungal infections. So you may be sensitive to raw and cold foods, commercial dairy and eggs, and excess carbohydrates and sugar. So this was part 1 of Cancer. I will be working on part 2 fairly soon here and coming out with that as well. I hope everyone is doing well. And as always, be kind, stay curious, speak your truth, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye.